everybody can hear?
All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Peace be upon you all. I pray everyone is doing good. Feels very awkward holding this mic like this, but do forgive me. We had a mic issue with the wireless mic, so this one is working. So I wanted to welcome you guys all to our one-on-one class, as we do every Sunday. We have a very important program today, session, and what we call a special edition, right? And that is basically the roots of Latinos and how they're coming back to Islam, or at least knowing about Islam. And so I was very happy, Sister Somayah and Sister Lucy, and they're going to introduce themselves, of course, and a number of other sisters that have gone back to Mexico, and they've been conveying the message of Islam and kind of assessing the situation there. So Sister Somayah just got back from her trip from Mexico, so I asked her and I reached out to her. I said, is it okay? Can you share with us your journey and some of the things maybe over the last few weeks and months, and in general about Islam there in Mexico, so that we can benefit? And of course, this is not only specifically towards only Latinos. Of course, this is for all Muslims and everybody in general to know about our history in different parts of the world. So inshallah, without further ado, I'll pass it over to Sister Somayah and Sister Lucy, and they were going to let us know about this amazing journey and trip that they've been on, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Is this good? Yeah? Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Well, I'm so happy to be here with all of you, and I wanted to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us the opportunity to be here with all of you. I also want to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for having my dear sister Lucy here with me. And I'm going to share with you something so special, because yesterday we had a special ceremony. And here, Sister Lucy, she graduated from CIU. Alhamdulillah, she got her bachelor's in Islamic studies. So now she's a specialist on theology and Islamic law. Alhamdulillah. And I'm so proud of her, because when she was, like 10 years ago? So I think 10 years ago, she went to Jordan. She took all her kids, and then she studied there in the university for 4 years. And mashallah, her knowledge always keep going. May Allah bless her. Ameen. Okay. So as Brother Jamal said, we are going to talk about Latinos going back to their roots. So it's not Latinos converting to Islam. It's actually Latinos reverting to Islam. So here, Sister Lucy, we're going to divide this talk into 2 parts. So inshallah, Sister Lucy will start with conversion or reversion.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. So how many do you guys know of a Latino Muslim besides us? Anybody here Latino? No? Yes? No? Oh, wow. A lot of Latinos. Okay, that's great. All right, so, and, okay, great, wonderful. That's good to hear. So as you can see, there's a lot of reversion, right? And so there's a lot of connection. Most people think that Latinos and Muslims are a separate entity, but basically it's, there's a lot of re-acknowledgement from history, like we're like digging into history as of today, and we're digging up a lot of roots that there was a lot of Muslim presence in Mexico. For example, when the Muslims were expelled from Spain in 1492, are you guys aware of the Muslims' history in Spain? Yes? No? It's not really too common knowledge here, and because for several reasons, we're not going to get into that, but many of them were expelled, and they went to many different places. Can you guys name where they got sent to? Anybody? Raise your hand. Where did the Muslims in Spain got sent to? Oh, my son is raising his hand. Yes? Mexico. Mexico was one part where they were sent, well, when they were migrating, yes. Anybody else would? England. Where? England. The Muslims went to England. There might have been presence there. We're not sure yet. But a lot of them went to, like, North Africa, right? Like Morocco and Tunisia and places like that. So for example, modern-day Mexico was formed by the mixture of Spanish and indigenous cultures. When the Muslims when the Spaniards took over Spain in 1492, of course, that was at the same time that Columbus discovered America, right? And who did he take with him to navigate across Atlantic Ocean? Muslims. So there's a lot of history, a lot of discoveries that shows that a lot of Muslims came to Mexico and Latin America as well. And of course, the people who were already living in Mexico, which wasn't called Mexico at that time, were the indigenous people, which were like the Indians, the Native Americans, so kind of like what you would call the Native Americans here of America. Okay, let me just go over that. So where is this documented proof of Muslim presence in Mexico? Well, basically, it's going through the documents of the archives, which is where it was founded, prove that there was a lot of Muslims living in Mexico during the colonial times between 1500 all the way to 1800. There was a lot of discoveries of the Quran. There was documents of the Inquisition that got transferred over from Spain into Mexico because of the Spanish, the religious authorities that lived in Mexico. You know, those were the rulers at the time. And there's also been other references like letters and documentations that there was other Muslims living there throughout Mexico, like Guadalajara, Mexico City, Puebla, and Veracruz, and places like that. So there is those roots already established there in Mexico as well. And of course, you guys are aware that there's a lot of Spanish words that are of Arabic origin that are in Spanish. And as far as the architecture is concerned, there's a lot of similarities. I'm sure you guys can see that. That also looks familiar, like the mosque in Jerusalem with the shape of the dome. This is another, it's a convent in Cholula, which is another city-state in Mexico. And see the similarities between that and the Cordoba Masjid. Have any of you guys have you guys seen the similarities between the mosques that were in Spain, the Cordoba Mosque, compared to the ones in Mexico? And the arches and the domes, and also the tile workmanship is also very similar, because a lot of the artisans traveled with the Spaniards. And you can see also the Moroccan influence of the archways, the entryways, and the top of the buildings. There's also that presence, which is found also in Spain. This is a Moroccan palace from 1823. This is in Mexico. Right?
Actually, this one is in Argentina. And these ones right here, many pictures that I put in this PowerPoint are from Puebla. So we have somebody from Puebla here, mashallah. So Puebla is the state that has most churches, and most of those churches were actually masjids. So you will see, this one is from Puebla. This is the inside of the Cholula church, which was a mosque. This one is a Castillo Morisco in Argentina. I love it. It looks like it's from the Middle East. Now we have here a little taste of Alhambra. This is actually in Torreon, Coahuila, but the avenue, it's called
Matamoros. Do you guys know the significance of the word Matamoros? Mata, what's mata? Kill. And moros? Moros, which is Moros, or is another word for Moors. Who are the Moors? Who are, yes, the Muslims that were coming from Spain, right? Yeah, so kill Moors. Get it? so the significance is very, very like, you have to really dig into that history and like understand why was it named Kill Moors. And that was also, it stemmed from the history of how they were able to start the invasion from the northern Spain, and they went down to eventually Madrid and was it Toledo, and they conquered all those lands. And that was their main idea, is to kill all the Moors. Of course, it's a very twisted ideology because we already know what happened. This is another example.
This is a beautiful restaurant in Puebla, but if you see the architecture, the way it's made, it's like a little piece of Alhambra. It's beautiful. Another one in Puebla. I mean, Puebla is full of Islamic architecture. Zócalo.
The Zócalo Puebla is another example of what is in Sevilla, right? There is an exact copy of a building that is just like this in Toledo. And I don't remember the name though.
Okay.
Torre.
Can I talk about this one? Okay, this one is the inauguration of, what does this look like? Yes, Yusuf? It looks like Masjid al-Aqsa, right? Yeah, but it's actually a kiosk that still exists right now in Mexico City. So it was inaugurated. Yeah, in 1910, and now it looks like this. This is actually a place where one of our best friends got married in Mexico not long ago, and looks like this at night. Isn't it beautiful? It actually won one of the prizes in architecture a few years ago in whole Mexico. And people go there and play and enjoy, and they really don't know the meaning, but it's there. Now, who can guess where is this place? Nope. Did anybody went to Spain? It looks like Spain, but it's not Spain. This is actually Guanajuato. This is one of the places where Muslims, yes, it's Guanajuato. And this is Guanajuato. It looks like Spain. The streets are like Toledo. It's really beautiful. Look at this.
Zacatecas. That's another state in Mexico. So as you can see, they're all over in Mexico. There's also do you guys know about the significance of the name Guadalajara? No? It's also of Arabic origin, which is the Wadi al-Hajar, which means the Valley of the Rocks. So Guadalajara is an actual Arabic word which has been changed a little bit, but it still has the Arabic Islamic roots. And there's also one in Spain as well. So a lot of Spanish cities that were originally Muslim, while the Muslims were living in Spain, they were actually renamed in Mexico as well. If you look it up, it's Salamanca, Medina, Guadalajara, Toledo, all of these have very much significance of the historical roots stemming from Spain. Another example is Chiapas. Chiapas is more like an indigenous state, which is more down south of Mexico, but there's a lot of Muslim presence there before and now. There's approximately, I think, you want to talk about that now, or?
Well, actually, when I went to Mexico, I was with the imam over there, and I asked him, how many people do you have in the community? He mentioned like around 1,000 people. So there is, in that community, about that much. And keep growing, they keep growing, alhamdulillah. Okay, I would like to talk about this one. This is the Royal Chapel in Cholula, so we're going back to Puebla. This masjid, or now church, is very interesting because it's the exact copy of the mezquita in Cordoba. So it has the same measurements, They try to do exactly the same. And we also hear that Mezquita in Cordoba is a copy of the masjid in Damascus, right?
Yes.
So subhanallah is there. Unfortunately, it's not a masjid anymore. These are two nuns walking, and I choose this picture because I thought, like, wow, like they're wearing an abayas, they're wearing the hijab, and they're walking outside the mosque. Yes, Joseph? All right, thank you so much, Joseph. Alimenta tu alma, check it out. Okay, and then and also the domes is so amazing. Like for those people that if you see pictures of Medina, the Masjid of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, it has some domes. This one it has like really amazing domes. Subhanallah.
And this is another example of the interior. It's, as you can see, the benches, so those are the signs that it's a church, and the arches, the domes.
Okay, so now we're going to switch from architecture to language. Like why? Why we Muslims, why we Latinos, we feel so familiar with Islam or with the Arabic culture? Sometimes I find people that they ask like, like I watch this show so and then I'm so interested about your culture or your religion because there's something else that's calling them. So now we're going to talk about the language.
Okay, so Mexico's Arabic Muslim heritage can be traced back to the Muslims, as we mentioned before. The North African Muslims who went to Spain in 711 and ruled for almost 800 years. So they were in Spain for 800, they were not visiting Spain, they lived in Spain. And a lot of the inhabitants of Spain were not actually forced converts. They were actually saw the justice of what the Muslims practiced, so they became Muslims. So throughout those generations, they eventually became Muslims. And Muslims had a dramatic and long-lasting impact of the Iberian Peninsula. As you can see, a lot of the architecture, the language, there's about roughly 4,000 Spanish words that are of Arabic origin. Everyday words that we use, they're probably not even aware of. For example, jabón. Do you guys know it in Arabic? Anybody? Jabón? Very, very similar. Sabón. Okay, so that's soap. Arroz, which is rice, and in Arabic is ros. And alcalde, which is mayor, and in Arabic is al-qadi, qadi. So any word that begins with the al is most likely of Arabic origin. Let me just explain the arroz. So do you guys know in the Arabic language, there's for the arroz, there's the sun letters and then the moon letters, right? Like some of them you don't pronounce the al, you just go in, you skip the l, and then you go into the third letter. For example, arroz, it's usually say al-ros. But because of the sun and the moon letters that affected the Arabic language, they put them together, so they take out the L. So that's how it's arroz, not al-ros. But in the original, when you write it in Arabic, it's al-ros. But because of the sun and the moon letters, so some are silent and some are not, so you can able to distinguish that. So that was an interesting piece of linguistic that I didn't even know myself until you started to learn Arabic, and then you realize that the significance of where the original words come from. Oh, ojalá, which means hopefully. That's a very common Spanish word in English, in Spanish. Descends from the Arabic expression inshallah, which literally means God willing. And of course, we already talked about Guadalajara. It has the Arabic name meaning Valley of the Stones. More things that are also very familiar in the Spanish language that are Arabic origin is aceite, which is zait in Arabic, aceituna, azafan, which is the saffron, azúcar. There's another example of azúcar. It's just it's one of the words that you blend in. You don't pronounce the L. Is azúcar. Berenjena, berenjena is the eggplant. So, algodón, algodón. Here's the L where you pronounce the L, the A-L. Arrecife, arrecife is reef. Jabali, which is the boar, jabali. Jirafa, giraffe. Tobacco, tobacco, okay. And there's thousands of other words. Ajedrez, which is chess. Alcohol, alcohol. Alfil, which is chess. Algebra, of course, algebra. Algoritmo, algorithm, and dado, dice. A dad. Okay. Yes, which is, yeah. So, you get the point, right? There's many different words that come from the Arabic language.
There is a small video, but I think we're going to skip this one because there's more things we want to cover. Yeah? Okay. So now we're going to transition to food.
Yeah. Okay. There's also food influence. So we talked about words, right? We talked about architecture. Now food. Some classical flavors used in Mexican gastronomy were originally from Spain. And this includes coriander, which use it on rice, cumin, cinnamon, and clove. Do you guys know that tacos also come from Arabs? How is that similar? Do you guys know? I was watching a program. Who has Netflix? You guys have Netflix? Okay, Omar, what? Yeah. So there's this program about the history of tacos, tacos in Mexico. It's in Spanish, but they have the translation, and they were showing how, here we go, the shawarma, you know how the shawarma is like layers of meat. So that originally came from the people that went to Mexico, and they eventually taught the Mexicans how to cook tacos al pastor. So eventually it evolved because they used to eat it with pita bread, right? But now it's a tortilla. So its origins are from the Arab culture.
Okay, but when you go to Mexico, do not eat tacos al pastor. Don't think it's shawarma because now the tacos al pastor are made of pork, right? And it goes back to the times where Muslims were forced to eat pork. So the tacos in Mexico are not halal, okay?
And here's the shawarma, which is same thing. It's layers of meat. Shawarma tacos. Yummy. Okay, I'm hungry.
Well, some say that also the origin of tacos were brought by Muslims as well. So people used to make the tortillas a little bit thicker, and then they put the meat, and that looks like a taco to me. Okay, these are the best churros in Mexico City, and the name of the restaurant is called El Moro. Who's from Mexico City? Okay, Omar. So when I used to live there about like 23 years ago, we always wanted to go there like every Sunday, and there was only one place. Now they have several restaurants. It's called El Moro, but their architecture is made of mosaicos, like very Morisco. Yeah.
Azulejos?
Yeah, azulejos. There you go. This is a Sanborns in Mexico. Did you go there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, tell us about it, Lucy.
So the Sanborns in Mexico is a very old colonial house. And it's from the 1800s. And it got converted into a restaurant, which is very delicious. I was there. And, there's the inside, yes. So the architecture, when you go in, I mean, like you feel like you're in Spain. It's just amazing, and you feel like you're in another world because the architecture, it's so amazing, like the similarities that you see, with when you compare to that history is just so evident. And that's another proof that, our roots are there. It's very obvious with the architecture, the food, the language, and this is just another example of it's called the House of Tiles. And so how are Latinos going back to their roots? How do we connect that?
So we already talked about architecture, language, yes? The Ten Commandments. It could be because we're talking about Islamic values. We're talking about Muslims. We don't only have the feeling that we know the culture because of the buildings, because of the food, because of the language, but we also have those values. We have the family values. Okay? All right. So we have the family values such as respect, being good to your neighbor, taking care of your family. I remember my dad. When I was little, we always needed to be home before Maghrib time. It's just like that to say, you can go play, but make sure you're home before the sun goes down, right? The way we used to play when we were kids, when we used to play hide and seek, it was like, no hay moros en la costa. Remember that when we were little? So we used to have Islamic life, but I didn't know that was Islam. There were many other things that we used to do, like going to church every Sunday because you know that there is God, you know that there is a creator. So, but where do you go if you only have churches around? So then we go to the church, right? But still there is something missing. Then in my case, when I came to the US and I find about Islam, that piece that was missing, it got complete. It's like, when you have like those kids pages that they have numbers to draw something, and then you have the numbers, but you still didn't draw the line. So when I came here, it's like, okay, I'm drawing the line. There's only one God. Like, oh yeah, there's only one God. That's true. And then you start learning more and more and more. You're connecting the dots, and then you have the full picture. So I noticed that's what happening to many of us. That's what happened to me. That's what happened to Lucy. So Islam is not for us a conversion, but we feel that we took back what was taken away from us. So why are we choosing Islam?
Islam often draws in commerce because of the nature of the religion, and a person has a direct relationship with God. So there's no intermediaries. And then you still also see the familiarity with the language, the food, the architecture. One does not need a mediator. For me, and when I decided to change, to me it made sense. Like I said, I think her analogy is almost also similar, like connecting those dots. Like everything made sense to me. Jesus is not the Son of God. He's an actual prophet. Oh, okay, the Trinity. What happened was like my husband actually made me question about my own faith, and I didn't really have any answers. And until he told me about Islam and how the Jesus factor and the Mary factor and all of that, I didn't have to give it up to believe in the oneness of Allah. So that to me it made sense, and how everything just fit together like a puzzle, and I didn't really have to change a lot from my Spanish or Mexican identity. Just being more conservative. I didn't have to change the way I eat. Maybe a tweak, a little bit of no pork, as we find alternatives, of course, and it's healthy. It's good for us, and And also the conversion to Islam is a return to the tree heritage of many Latinos. Another phenomenon that is going on in Spain is the rediscovery of their roots as well. We went on a retreat, actually, Somayah and I and her son and another friend of ours. We got to know the Spanish Muslims there. So they're like almost in the second generation Muslims, because their history is very short, just like the history here. You know, there's not really, you're talking about maybe 30 years over there, the rediscovery of your roots. So many of them, they don't know where, like they're starting to rediscover that their true identity is actually Muslim, you know, based on their names, their last names, where they were from, where they lived. So there's this reconnecting of their heritage as well. And also here in Mexico, and of course it extends to the United States, because now a lot of us are immigrants, right? So, oh, there it is, connecting the dots.
Which
This-
I already talked about.
yeah.
Now we're gonna see a lot of pictures. You ready? Now we're switching. So first we try to present to you why do we have this feeling. There is a proof that we're Muslims in Mexico. They brought a lot of benefits, a lot of contribution, and here we are. Okay, I usually don't like to be in pictures, but I think this picture is very special to me because when I became Muslim, I don't know if that happened to you, but when I became Muslim, of course, my family was not happy about it, and they were like questioning many things, and some people were against me, some people were neutral, some people were close to me. So whenever you decide to become Muslim, you should know that Allah is so happy for you. The angels are so happy for you, and the shaitan is mad. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave me the opportunity to help my niece to do her shahada. And subhanallah, my niece, she loved Islam so much that she became my teacher. Alhamdulillah. And now, because we are working together, she has a Jaza in Quran, and we go to Mexico, and she helps Latino Muslims to learn the prayer. So I was so fortunate to go there, and we were in this seminar, working with groups. And I'm just going to share with you something, because these things are real, okay? I had a dream, before she became Muslim, I had a dream that she told me, Tia, I'm ready to pray with you. And then I woke up, I was thinking about her. So I called her, and before I told her my dream, she told me, Tia, I had a dream with you. I'm like, yeah? Like, what was it? You invited me to pray, and you were in a peaceful place, I was white, and I was like, well, that's like so interesting. And she made her shahada on the phone. I was here and she was in Mexico. So, you know, Allah is going to guide people. He's going to put people in your way that will help you. That will help you to go through and will share your, you know, your message, your mission in life. So here we are. As you see, here's Lucy. So now this is what we do. So we try to go to Mexico maybe like every 3 months. There is people over there that are very, very sincere. There is people over there that they are very receptive to the message of Islam. I don't know if they, you know, they probably watch different news than what we watch over here, but they like it. They like it. Once we went, when we were in Mazamitla, we just went for a walk. We were not doing that. We didn't even have pamphlets with us. We didn't think about that. But people were like, they wanted to take pictures with us. One lady, she had like a jewelry shop, not the glasses, right?
Yeah.
She was just like asking, and everything what we were saying, it's just like, it makes sense, it makes sense. And she was like so receptive. We were like walking, we were like, wow, we didn't expect that in that area. So this place where you see Lucy and Dr. Mariam is called Querétaro. And Querétaro, it's, you know, also when you're driving there, there is areas where you feel like you are in Toledo, like very narrow streets, The architecture is very Islamic. So we went to a seminar, and in this seminar we invited people from different parts of Mexico. This was last year, right?
No, this year.
At the beginning, yeah, in the beginning of this year. So, mashallah, alhamdulillah, we are so blessed to be here, and we are so blessed that Brother Jamal is teaching us, and that we have the support of Sheikh Mustafa, we have the knowledge. So I remember I called Brother Jamal, and I asked him to please train me about the mentorship program, and he did. He helped me out, and then we brought this mentorship program to Mexico. We took it with us. So what you see here is like a 3 days intensive seminar where we are teaching them about Islam, and alhamdulillah we had the books from Sheikh Mustafa, the same books that you are using, the same system that you are using here. People in Mexico are using it too, and they are very happy. Like for us, sometimes we take things for granted. You know, we just drive 5 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe half an hour. But in these seminars, we have people that they drive for 10 hours just to get there. You know, that's how much they want the knowledge. That's how much they want to connect. You want to say something about this?
No. And these are not new converts. Well, they're all like different. You know, one of them, some are new, some are older, some are 5. But imagine being a Muslim for that long, not really knowing, you know, the prayer. So there's not really too many scholars there. There's a lack of that, and there's might be different influences that, you know, there's like, you know, Sister Somayah said, we're so blessed. I mean, we have like over 120 masjids in Southern California. Over there, it's like you have to travel 2 hours just to go to one. Like in Puebla, there's one. In Mexico City, it's another 2 hours to get to another one. And that's if you're lucky, if it's open. You know, it could be like a small house with a room. So we're very, very blessed and fortunate that, and you can come here and do classes in Spanish and Arabic and Pakistani and Urdu, I mean, and so we are so blessed, and we should be very grateful that we have all of these resources available, all the amount of books. You know, that's another thing we're trying to send there, so that all the literature that you don't find, that you find here, you don't find it over there.
Okay, so this is there. I say I don't like my pictures, and I put 2 pictures, but let me tell you why. Because this sister, mashallah, she left her job just to do full-time dawah. So she make videos about Islam, and she talks, and then she just record herself and try to explain, because she's really, really hungry, and she knows the situation, and she wants to teach about Islam. So she's doing dawah in Spanish in YouTube as well. Okay, now this is so exciting for me. So let me tell you what happened here. So this is the seminar that we just had 2 weeks ago, in Cuernavaca. Okay, it was very small, but it was very sweet, because the people that went there, they were people that were very, very serious about learning about Islam. So here we have, this is the Imam. His name is Imam Idris in Chiapas with his wife and their daughter. So they drove from Chiapas to Mexico City 13 hours. And then from there to Cuernavaca, another like 2 hours. And they stayed there with us for the 2 days to learn the mentorship program that we have right here. So that was the seminar call, you know, that's the mentorship. So mashallah, they have Muslims, they have a lot of shahadas, but they don't know how to retain the people. I don't like the microphone. Can you hear me like this? Yeah, better. Like this? This is better? Okay. So, subhanallah, you know, sometimes, like, I was really thinking, like, these people drove all the way. Some people got really sick. For the next day, they were not able, like, to eat food, but they were still there practicing. They were still practicing. So this is what we did. The first day, we focused on the prayer, because the prayer is very important. We can't, I don't know, we can't have mentors if they don't know how to pray, because how are they going to teach other people to pray? So we try to focus on the prayer. We broke into groups, We have brothers with brothers, sisters with sisters. There was, of course, my son went with me. Ali, he was the only boy, like not the only boy, the only 20 something that matched with Omar. So they were practicing the prayer the whole day, and then the next day, after they did the prayer, after they went through the whole mentorship program, then there was a test about what they learned, and then we give them certificates. So that way they are mentors now. So the people that went there, it's not like they have a community. Maybe some they have like 2 people in one area, 3 people. The only group is in Chiapas, right, where they have like a big community. So there's certifications over there. This is a brother that just had a car accident, and he lived in Mexico City, so they drove like 2 hours to get to Cuernavaca for the seminar. They were very happy about this. Oh yeah. Mashallah. This is another sister. She's the leader of her community in Chiapas, but also she went, they have lots of shahadas, but they don't have the mentorship program. So that's why they went there. And this was like the end of the seminar. They were all very happy. Yeah, so this group was so special because within the people that came from Chiapas, there is a sister that she's in a final stage of cancer, and she went with them, and she wanted to become a mentor so she can help people. Alhamdulillah. We didn't take these pictures. We paid someone to take pictures. So I just put this picture in there because they were so sincere. So at the end, after the event, after the certification, then we made du'as, and you can feel it. You can feel it. People were very happy about that. And I have a little gift for you. Do you want a gift? Yeah. Okay. Okay, how do I click the video? No, it's a little part of the adhan, just to hear his voice. Maybe. This is how we broke into groups, and this is the gift. This was a special shahada, and this shahada, we're gonna go back to what Sister Lucy mentioned. When Sister Lucy mentioned about how we Latinos, we were raised Catholics, and we love Jesus, and we love Virgin Mary. So the sister that made shahada, when she arrived to the seminar, she's like, look, I'm a very well-balanced person. Okay, I'm like physically okay. She's a psychologist. I'm emotionally okay, but I'm looking for that spirituality. So I came here like open. I'm here to receive. I was like, wow, mashallah, So after we talked and everything, and then we went through the pillars of Islam and the pillars of faith. She's like, I agree with everything, but I do still I worship Virgin Mary. And I worship Jesus, and I don't want to make them mad. And then I'm like, okay, but how about if you worship who Jesus worshiped? Then he's going to be happy. And she's like, yeah, and how about the Virgin Mary? I'm like, the same thing. In the Quran, we have a full chapter of Virgin Mary. So if you really love her so much, you should worship what she worshiped. She's like, okay, you know what? Let me go home. I'm gonna talk to her, and then I will see, how I feel about it. Remember? I'm like, okay. So how about when you talk to her, I just tell her, you know what? I love you so much, and I'm going to worship the God that you worship, and I'm going to read this surah of Virgin Mary, and I'm going to follow what you follow. So you're going to be stronger with her. And she's like, okay, it makes sense. And mashallah, she made her shahada. But her love for Jesus, her love for Virgin Mary, like now that she knows that through Allah, she's gonna even love them more because she's going to worship the God that they worship. So I'm going to click over here so you can hear her shahada, yeah? Because that was, and the imam from Chiapas is the one that's giving the shahada to her. Where is it? Yeah, that's good. No viene.
أشهد أشهد أن لا أن لا إله إله إلا الله إلا الله وأشهد وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله رسول الله.
Ahora en español dices atestigo
Atestigo
que no hay
que no hay
nada digno de ser adorado
nada digno de ser adorado
más que Allah.
más que Allah.
Y atestigo
Y atestigo
que el profeta Muhammad,
que el profeta Muhammad,
la paz sea con él,
la paz sea con él,
es el mensajero de Allah.
es el mensajero de Allah.
Takbir.
I think that's really sweet. That's what I want to share with you because even though they are far, in their hearts we're together. So this is a piece of why we think that Latinos are entering into Islam. We feel so familiar with the culture, with the values, and when we come to know that there is only one God, that there is nothing should be worshipped besides Him. And that was actually the teachings that we had before, but it was taken away from us. Now we're able to take it back. We appreciate it more. Also, we see now there is a lot of shows, a lot of Turkish shows in Spanish, that I have a friend that she just came and she told me like in Turkey that they're seeing so many Latinos that they go there because they wanted to see like what does the masjid look like, what's the culture look like. I met one sister that she became Muslim from a show. It's called. ¿Te acuerdas de la? Yeah. So now these people they're producing and they're actually doing dawah without knowing. So Allah guides whomever He wants, and I think for us Latinos we have a lot of things in common. And now we're seeing it, we're living it, we're feeling it. We love it. We're embracing it. So when people told me like, "Why did you change?" I'm like, "No, I didn't change. I just like went back to my nature. I went back to where we're supposed to be."
So that concludes the presentation. Anybody has any questions or something to share or?
I'm totally fascinated because my dad all of a sudden came from Spain and his family, our family is like from Zacatecas and all my cousins live in Torreon. So I'm like totally Jersey now.
MashaAllah.
Um,
What's your last name?
Cifuentes.
Cifuentes.
I was reading it, it actually, the name developed in, as Fuentes, and they were in, the Moors when they came over, so, yeah, came from that, I gotta kind of go back through there. Now I wanna get a DNA test.
Yeah.
So we actually did a DNA test. So I, of course, the native, American is there. But I think there was also some English. I had like 11% English, a little bit of Italian, and of course Iberian Peninsula. So the percentages were really strange to me. It was very interesting to see, and I would like my parents to do theirs as well. So hopefully, we retrace our history of, because I'm always asking them where's your grandma came from? Where did they come from? But they didn't really keep too many records then. So because my grandma was born in 1894, and so I don't know what kind of records they have. I would have to go dig into their archives and see what kind of how far back they recorded all this. But that's where most of the information comes from, because a lot of the religious authorities did keep those records. So that's where you have to go and dig through that.
I just wanted to say, besides knowing where are you coming from, it's very important. At the same time, if we look through history, we should see that Muslims, when they were working together, they were growing. When they get their strength with unity, with their goal of worshiping Allah and making things better. That's why whenever they were going, they were contributing to society. They were building. See, all these buildings, it took a lot of effort. They didn't have what we have right now, right? And how did they spread Islam? Let's say Indonesia and Malaysia, it was everything through example, right? Like good businessmen, people were clean, people were honest. So I think that we need to, some people are working really hard, some people not as hard, but I think it's good if we step out from our comfort zone and try to be more proactive. Try to, maybe not everybody can go to Mexico with us, and we don't even have to go to Mexico because we have a lot of Latinos here in Anaheim, right? That's what I was talking to Brother Jamal. It's just, I like to go to Mexico because I have a Muslim family in Mexico, so I like to go there and support them. But there is so many things we can do. We can do a lot of dawah here. We can take use of the social media. We can, presentations and all of that. Let's all try to be proactive. Let's try to learn and let's try to teach. We have all the opportunities that people those days didn't have. And we have everything, and we're not really using 100%. So I would say my advice, to myself and to all of you, let's try to work together, find what your passion is about within Islam. How can you serve your Creator in a better way? And inshallah, let's work together on this.
May Allah bless you guys. A great job. It's really good information that you guys have. You can tell you put a lot of work into it. Alhamdulillah. My question is, because you guys have visited, of course, back in Mexico quite frequently. What are some services on the ground right now, as you speak, that are being offered to the non-Muslim population? We know about the new Muslim population, meaning the classes for mentorship. But is there something going on as far as outreach or da'wah to non-Muslims there, the schools, the colleges, places where, education, of course, academia, things like that? Is there being any, or is it just the political climate makes it hard?
Well, there's different kinds of groups. There is some people that are dying, that the Islam is going down because of fitna. We have to be very careful with what we are saying. So for them, it's just easy to say certain things and then they disappear. It's very simple, very, very easy. They do that, and it's very sad. At the same time, I have seen some messages of they're opening a school, like a madrasa in Mexico City, where they focus in Quran and Islamic studies. And I don't know about the teachers, but they're doing something, in Mexico City. In Chiapas, people are very like, some of them they don't watch TV. They are very sincere. They are very down to earth. But there was a problem that people from United States, they used to go like they wanted to help them. So what happened is that they end up like just going there and take pictures of, oh, they need this, they need that, and they go back and they didn't help them. So they would start feeling like, you know what, people are using us. They just come here and take pictures of us and they really don't do anything. Then they start like having also like their own divisions within them. So I think we had to work really hard. There is not something well organized to, as you say, to service Muslims, non-Muslims in there. So every time we go, we just have like a group of people that want to learn to help, but also for them to start a project, they need support. Mm-hmm.
It's a very new community, maybe like 15, 20 years old, and there's not much follow-up after the conversion. You're just pretty much left on your own here, where here there's a lot of care, and you can find a lot of people, support groups. Over there, like there's many small communities. We have yet to do statistical work on that, and some academia is working on that, but we should do our own work, right? We should have our own academia do this kind of work as well, because it's very important to document all this history that we don't know where it might go. So we don't know what could be the future will hold in the next 5 years or 10 years. Where's Islam going to head in Mexico and Latin America as well? So we need to have that foundation set, just like here. Over the span of 50 years, it's grown so much because of the grassroots organizations that have been established here. And over there is some groups. We saw like maybe 12 that do dawah work, just like they're done here. They go to the center when there's like a group together. When they do get together, they go to the street like for a couple hours, and they pass out the pamphlets, they try on the hijab. That's pretty much it. And we don't know how often that's done, but that's where it stops. Anything beyond that, there's not really much.
So what we see is that whenever we go, they feel supported, they feel happy, and then after the seminars, they go on the streets and they do dawah. So they did that last time when we went to Querétaro, to the first place. They actually went to 3 different states. So they went to Juárez, they went out in Querétaro, and
Veracruz.
Colima.
And there was also in Veracruz when
With Marian went.
yeah.
Yeah. So they need support. They need support to grow. And the good news is that they are receiving Islam, but they don't know how to preserve it. And for another challenge that we have is that there is so much information about Islam online. So many of them, they're just like Facebook, and they go different ways.
They don't, another challenge, there's many challenges like we faced here, but for them it's more because the scholarship is just not there. We have a lot of great imams. I mean, they're born here, but another influence that they have is a lot of the foreigners that go in there, they bring their own idealisms, their own whatever school of thought they come from, and then they start to change. Their Mexican identity is no longer Mexican, it's something else. So we don't want to do that, right? We have to retain our identity and also the Islamic values as well. So that's another thing that the influence of the scholars.
Oh, so that's the other thing. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to connect through the YouTube, right? So some people, they wanted to participate. They're like, I want to help you, but I don't know how. I'm like, okay. So we created a 5 committees, right? With people that likes to narrate. So we have good message in Islam in English. So we have people that translates, and then we have people that narrates it. We have people that do the design, and then we have people that like to share it. So that's how we're working together. That's how we're getting connected right now, so that way we don't lose people. And it's working really well. They're happy. We're happy. So that's one way, through social media. But there is nothing like being there heart to heart, right?
Any more questions or?
Yeah. Your turn? Oh, yeah, yes. Claro. Inshallah.
Inshallah. There is one more thing. We do have actually an event coming up at the end of August. It's going to be held in, ¿está bien? ¿Sí lo vemos? It's going to be held in Puerto Vallarta. And our Sheikh Mustafa Omar is an invited guest, so he will be doing presentation. The theme is focused on family, relationships, and marriage, and other themes as well. So it would be great. Of course, everybody's invited to go, and we have the information. Please come and see us if anybody's interested. It's during Labor Day weekend. The people in Mexico they're very nice. So it's
Even when you get to go to the airport, they're very nice in the airport too. The TSA are nice too.
The food is fantastic. I mean, it's just a wonderful place to visit, and I encourage everybody to make the effort. Even if like going down to Ensenada or Tijuana and Rosarito, it's very enlightening. So thank you so much for being here and for listening to us, and hopefully we gain some kind of knowledge and spread it to others. Thank you so much.
Yeah, may Allah bless you, and may Allah reward you, and may Allah keep us together, inshallah. May Allah use us to work for His sake. I know that some of you are taking classes in CIU. If you are not, please join, because it's really amazing. Like Lucy just graduated yesterday, and I'm so happy for her. I'm like really proud of her. Now she doesn't have any excuses to teach. And we're asking Sheikh Mustafa that hopefully, that would be really good if we could have CIU in Spanish. Can you imagine all these people to be educated? The right Islamic knowledge. Online, it's okay, but at least you have your knowledge straight. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much.
All right, alhamdulillah. May Allah bless you. May Allah reward you. We want to really thank Sister Lucy, Sister Somayah, who are really core, I would say, family members here at IIOC for a number of years. And I was honored to meet them when I first started here a few years ago. And the work that they've been doing, amazing, alhamdulillah. So may Allah bless them and reward them and keep them both very happy and bless their families. There's a lot of sacrifice, right? As you can imagine, when you go to another country for a few days, few weeks, whatever it might be, you're leaving your family behind, you're leaving what you know behind, and you're going to a place where, it's different, right? You might not have that family structure or friends or a mosque or the services. So may Allah always keep you guys happy and safe, inshallah. A few things. One is just some announcements. So as Sister Somayah and Sister Lucy were mentioning, we would love to have, and it just came to my mind right now, it just keeps reviving in myself. Of course, we have a Dawah and Outreach department here, which is basically going out and just talking to people about Islam, educating them. We always wanted to have a team that would do it strictly in Spanish. So we tried something, we attempted to do it. It started, but then it kind of fell off, and then people get busy and so forth, and it's totally understandable. But again, I think it's always a good time to start that back up. And as our Sister Somayah mentioned, of course, we can't go to Mexico, all of us, right? But even in our area, predominantly, there's so many Latinos just in the radius of 2 miles in our area here in Anaheim, right? I would love it if anybody's interested in wanting to create a core Latino Dawah team, if you will. Simply what we do is just educate people about what Islam is in the Spanish language, right? We have attempted that. We're trying it a little bit. Yesterday we had 2 Dawah tables at 2 different malls. It went really well. Alhamdulillah, all thanks to Allah. But we want to keep this consistent. Of course, training will be given, like how to give Dawah. It will be a whole structure and organization, but it requires dedicated people, brothers and sisters, right? So if you're interested in that, I'm not here to force you. But it's really beautiful because there's so many people out there that are thirsty about this message. And sometimes for them, it might be a language barrier. meaning they might not know English, let's just say, right? And they're comfortable in their own native language of Spanish, which is perfectly fine. So we need to go and talk to them in their language, right? And so, unfortunately, I wish I knew Spanish or more Spanish. I know like 3 words, right? That's about end of my Spanish, right? But some of you have been blessed that you guys know Spanish, you know it fluently, right? So this is a blessing Allah has given you, and you try to utilize the blessings that Allah has given you to thank Allah. And one of the greatest ways is to share the message with other people in their language, right? So if you're interested in that, please think about it. We start really small, maybe once a month or something like that, and then we just kind of get there. We already started a little bit, but again, we need a lot more help. It can't just be 1 or 2 people. As Sister Somayah mentioned, we have to be proactive, right? So that's number 1. Number 2 is I personally just want to thank IIOC's management and board for having these classes and services. There's certain parts, as Sister Lucy and Somayah are mentioning, when you go to certain places, they don't have these programs or these services. For us to sit here on a Sunday, every Sunday just about, to have classes for people that have converted to Islam, I don't think some of us understand or appreciate that. You go to any, and I'm not here to put any mosque down, but if you go to any other mosque nationwide, try to see if they have a consistent program like this. Every Friday, every Sunday, our mentorship program, the tours, the presentations. So what I'm trying to say is we should be very thankful for what we have, but number 2, to also be part of it, right? As you know, when you guys come in, alhamdulillah, the tables are here, the setup is ready. Most times it's working, we have to fix it sometimes. The food is ready, meaning we have a few people helping out, but it'll be great if everyone can kind of chip in. And I'm not saying financially, I'm just saying everyone can do a part, right? So think of what you're good at, think of how you want to help, and let's make sure that we're part and parcel of this. It's not just 2 or 3 people that are always kind of like getting everything ready and so forth, right? And so those are my points, inshallah. Please don't forget about the graduation. We kept you a little bit longer, but it's just a very important program here today. Keep in mind, everything we do, we stream it live, right? So the hope is also people back in Mexico, anywhere in the world, they can watch this and they can benefit from it. Remember our YouTube page? Who can help me out? What is it? Our YouTube page? We have 2, right? It was a test, because we remember everyone was supposed to be subscribed last time. If you guys have your smartphones out, if you guys can help me out, if you didn't do it last time, just pull out your phones real quick. We're going to do it together. If you didn't do it already a few weeks ago, we have 2 YouTube pages, right, for the masjid here. One is for like the Friday sermons, the khutbah, and the Friday night discussion. So just go to youtube.com. It's IIOC TV. And even anybody streaming right now, if you want to see that. So go to youtube.com, in the search bar, just put IIOC TV, and it should pop right up. You just click on the icon, it'll say subscribe, and then also click on the bell-like icon, so it'll notify you every time we have a new video. That's the first one. The second one is the same in youtube.com. Just on the search, put IIOC Outreach. That's going to be for our Sunday classes, our new Muslim classes. So for the last 4 years, just about every session we've done, almost, it's on there. So if you want to go back and you really like the session, you can go back and you can listen to it again. Remember, we did a series on the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It was like 22 parts or something like that. We did on the 6 articles of faith. So somebody learning about the basics of Islam is good to go back. So these are our 2 pages, right? IIOC TV and IIOC Outreach. Those are our 2 pages. Of course, we have our Facebook, we have Instagram. So go ahead and you have access to all that. This is to make sure that you guys know what's going on in the community, in your community, inshallah, okay? So having said that, may Allah reward you and bless you all. Let's go ahead and fold up the tables. Yes, Sister Elizabeth? So graduation is going to be the same date that we changed to probably a month ago, which is August 25th, if I'm not mistaken. It should be that last Sunday of the month. Yeah. Yes, that one as well. So remember the graduation date we mentioned, it was the initial date, then we changed it, I think about a month or a little over a month ago, to August 25th, if I'm not mistaken. It should be the last Sunday, inshallah. All right? All right, so let's go ahead and if you guys can help me out, let's put the tables and chairs on the racks. Let's clean up after ourselves, and then we'll make our way out, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. So we see you guys on Friday, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.